You're watching Talking Points, a focus on the political scene in Lubbock and across the South Plains. Sponsored by Capital Mortgage Services.
Welcome back. Here's a look at some of the political headlines of the past week. As we first talked about a couple of weeks ago, Lubbock City Council has given preliminary approval for raising the property tax rate by a penny for the next fiscal year. It's to pay for the second part of the city's public safety improvements. On average, homeowners will pay an extra $45. And Governor Greg Abbott has formed a domestic terrorism task force after the mass shooting in El Paso. And Lubbock County District Attorney Sunshine Stanek will serve on the panel. Stanek and a group of experts and lawmakers will come up with ideas to help protect us from domestic terrorism. Their first meeting will be in Austin, August 30th. And as you might can imagine, that was a big topic of conversation when Governor Abbott held a town hall this week that streamed exclusively on everythinglubbock.com. KMAX West Rappaport was there to talk about that and more.
First time in the history of the state of Texas, a governor has used constitutional authority to create a task force dealing with domestic terrorism.
After talking about gun violence for nearly 15 minutes, the conversation shifted to legislative priorities from this year.
This last legislative session, what did you and the other lawmakers do to lower our property taxes?
Well, thank you for the question, but I understand your pain. We use more than $5 billion to reduce your property tax rates. On average, across the state of Texas, that will be about a 7% reduction in the first year, with an increased reduction in the second year.
An audience member pressed him on immigration and spending state dollars on border security.
Congress needs to better fund Border Patrol. That will help secure the border. But in the meantime, Texas will do everything we can to step up and do our part to secure the border. Understanding this last point, which is hugely important. In Texas, we fully embrace legal immigration. Our job is focused on preventing illegal immigration.
As for the future of the Republican Party, Abbott said he does not see Texas turning any color but red anytime soon. Congressman Joaquin Castro provided a Democratic response to the discussion.
When it comes to keeping people safe, I didn't hear many solutions. He's got to call the legislature into session to pass universal background checks, to pass red flag laws, to address issues of mental health.
Wes Rappaport, KMAC News.
All right, thank you. Always fun to spend 5 good minutes with Lubbock County Commissioner for Precinct 2, Jason Corley. Good to see you again.
Oh, good. Thank you for having me on the show.
All right, budget season wrapping up now. Everyone braces for this, what always seems like inevitable, raise of property taxes of some sort. I know you've talked about a lot of ways to try to keep that from happening. Where do we stand right now?
So right now, the proposed tax rate is going to be 34.08 cents, and that's 1 penny above the effective rate. So it is actually the same tax rate as last year, but what I'm going to make sure that everybody understands is that the effective rate generates the same dollar amount of revenue as the previous year. So it gives the county the same amount of money to work off of. Now, anything above that is, in fact, a tax increase. So even though it's the same rate, it's still a tax increase because it generates more revenue than what the county used the previous year to operate. Now, that's been proposed. That's the proposed tax rate. There's going to be 2 hearings. The first one will be on the 26th, and the second one will be on September 3rd. So people can come out and talk to us, let us know, what your thoughts are on it, how you feel about that.
Now, there's been talk about some needs that need to be filled, which is why some of the other guys are trying to do this kind of thing and effectively raise things a penny here. I know you've talked about ways to prioritize new expenses, whatever they are. Are there things that you'd like to see get paid for now, and can it be done without raising the tax, as you talk about in this way?
Well, Chadsey and I have been going back through our budget. We had some preliminary numbers that we had our doubts about, and went back through it, and we both believe that we can, in fact, go ahead and hold the tax rate to the effective rate and still provide for some of the things that are needed, especially in the sheriff's office. One of those is adding a deputy to each shift. Most people, when you ask them how many deputies we have out on each shift, they'll tell you that, probably 20, 25. I see those guys everywhere. But in actuality, there's 4 deputies and 1 supervisor. That's it. So, what we need to do is go ahead and add another deputy to those shifts, and that'll give us 5 deputies and 1 supervisor out on patrol at any one time. And the reason being is Sheriff's Office works hard to maintain an 8-minute response time 90% of the time. So in order to continue to do that with all the construction that's about to take place in southern Lubbock County, we're going to rip up Woodrow Road, start working on that. 1585 is about to become a new loop. trying to get from one side of the county and the south end of the county to the other side is, getting pretty difficult to maintain that response time. And 8 minutes doesn't sound long unless you need backup, and then it's an eternity. So we want to make sure that we've got enough. That we've got enough deputies out there to be able to effectively enforce the law and not to put anybody in a dangerous situation.
So where do these cuts come from in order to pay for that without adding to everyone's tax burden on this? Well,
one of the first things we want to do was cut travel and training is a line item that's on in the budget for just about every department. You send people off to get some training. There's different conferences that you'll want some of your elected officials to go to, just so they stay in the know on things like what's going on in Austin as far as legislature changes. There's going to be anything that may change down there with the legislature. You've got different groups that help them do that. Texas Association of Counties is one of those. Tax collector assessors, they have an association as well, helps keep those guys informed. So it's good for those guys to go to those conferences. But what we're looking to do is cut that by 5%, just right across the board, on every department. That was one of the first things that we looked at. Also, just going through line item by line item through the entire budget and saying, well, historically, you may have only used $20,000 out of this line item, and that may be the highest ever, and then you have a request on there for 35. Well, wait a minute, hold on. Let's take a look at that. Is there something new? Is there something upcoming that we need to be aware of, or what are you planning on doing with that money? Because if it doesn't get spent, does it go back? It stays in the general fund, but when you budget for that, we're basing your taxes off of assuming that money's going to be spent. So, mostly just going through, working with our department heads, and just making sure that every penny's accounted for. It's not something that they just carried over, or something that may just been increased by a percentage.
I remember some of the initial talk was using some of the tax revenue growth, whatever you have, to pay off debt instead of going to pay for some of these other things. Has that changed at all?
So, we had that discussion. That was back in the primary, and one of the things that took place between the time I won the primary to now is that the county went ahead and spent $7 million on Tyler Technologies, on implementation on that. We haven't fully resolved everything with the previous vendor as well, so you've got some problems there. We also discovered our fund balance is nowhere near what it needs to be. Counties usually maintain about 25% of their budget in reserves. That way, Lubbock County, $100 million plus or minus budget, you really need to have about $25 million in reserves. That way, if there's something, big emergency happens, something like that occurs, the county's not having to borrow a bunch of money to try to take care of that. We found out that's probably around $9 to $10 million in reserves, so that's dangerously low. We need to try to go ahead and restore that fund balance. Also, as far as we want to go ahead and do that first. Just it's kind of like if you ever use Dave Ramsey, readying his stuff. They always recommend you have that emergency fund.
Sure.
Well, the county's no different. We need to keep some money in reserve in case there's a large problem that comes up. Something expensive, like the $640,000 of we had to pay out for death certificates to be signed out on.
Wow.
That one, no one saw coming.
No. And final few seconds here, and I want to squeeze this in while we have just a second here. A different tax, the hotel occupancy tax, was supposed to be used to help pay for an expo center. We hear that's falling short of the $50 million that was originally projected. Where does that stand, and where are we on new options on this?
So right now we've got a financial advisor that's advised us that the projection is about $36 million, and that's the hot tax as well as the 5% rental car tax. I think that's going to come out to about $36 million. So we're about $14 million short. But as the Expo Center guys had assured everyone that if the tax didn't cover it and they wanted to get to $50 million, then they would go ahead and raise those funds. So that's kind of where we're at. The hot tax started being charged on July 1st.
July 1st, yeah.
So the county's going to have, we're going to go about 9 months, so we can kind of develop a history there, so the financial advisor can, show that to people that buy those kind of bonds and say, okay, we've got 9 months worth of data for you. This is what this tax is going to yield, and then those bonds will go ahead and be sold. But the county's got 1 year from the time we pass the tax to go ahead and decide what it is that we're going to do, what we're going to build, or what's going to be implemented. So the race is on, trying to get something worked out. I know myself and other commissioners, nobody's supporting the idea of we don't want to start building until we know exactly. Right. Exactly, one, what we're going to build, and two, exactly what it's going to cost. That's the number one concern. I don't want to see a shovel of dirt get turned until we've got all the money in the bank and ready to go.
All right. County Commissioner Jason Corley, Good, man, good to talk to you again. Good luck to you. I know this is difficult to try to get work through, but I know you keep swinging for a lot of people.
No, yeah, we'll stay at it. I appreciate it.